All right, Buff Nation, happy Friday. What is going on, everybody? Shout out to everybody who's coming in here in the chat. Be sure to smash that like. Let us know who's watching in the comments and head over to Russ's channel. Links in the description to subscribe to Buffs News Weekly. Russ, how's it going, man? How's your week been?
It's going good, just happy to have spring ball back and to have, lots of information getting fed to us every hour, it seems. So, really, really excited. It's been a great week.
Yeah, it's been a long maybe 4 or 5 weeks or so without really anything going on. So I'm so happy that we got real pads on. Practice has started, and now we've gotten a ton to talk about. But before we dive in, Russ, I did want to ask you. I'm sorry I didn't mention this backstage, but are you going to be watching the men's buffs today? And who you got winning your bracket? Did you fill one out?
I did not. I did. We just got to pick like who was going to be a winner. I did go all in on the girls team. I said that
Let's go.
the girls team was gonna make a run. I think I was the only person that said that. Uh, the boys, it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a tough test against Florida today. I definitely won't be as easy as the last game. So I'll definitely have that game on, followed by the girls game, and hopefully, at least one of the teams gets to go on to the next round. The girls definitely should, though.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope we can at least get one team in like the Sweet 16. That would be amazing. But yeah, buffs, men's buffs, they gotta clean it up, man. They gotta clean it up if they're gonna beat Florida. They've had a couple rough last couple games. So, anyways, we're here to talk football though, not college basketball. Let's start off, man. I thought this was so funny that last time we talked about potential transfers, you brought up, man, number one. You wonder what happens with him. Everybody's talking about him, right?
Yeah.
Fake insiders proved wrong once again. This was a relief to many, you, me, as well as the rest of Buff Nation. Cormani McClain setting the record straight. Said, guys, I'm not transferring. Stop being weird. What'd you make of that?
Well, I'm glad that, the good news is most of the time Bucky's going to address any of the online chatter with the players directly, which I love. If we don't see a player for long enough and everybody's been asking enough, he'll go up to that player and just say, "Hey, everybody's wondering where you are. You're here." So I think that's funny, because of the access that we are given to the team. It unfortunately opens us up to this stupid rhetoric where people are like, Cormani hasn't been in a single video for 3-4 weeks, and he's posting social media accounts from Dallas and Florida and all these things. So then you get all the people just putting two and two together and saying, well, he must be doing this or he must be doing that. And I know that you and I both have dealt with probably the last 2 weeks constantly fans of other teams reaching out and saying, oh, Cormani's coming to our school, he's transferring, he hates Colorado, all this stuff. So I'm glad that he confirmed it. I'm glad he was at practice on Monday. I'm glad they immediately came, everyone, all the news reporters that were there came out and immediately said, Cormani's here, he's practicing. And then, of course, Bucky confirming that. So, David, I think your Where's Cormani campaign can finally come to an end.
I know. Yeah, I was glad to finally take that down. Now I kind of have gone more with the David Talk Sports on Twitter, but that's another conversation, trying to open up things a little bit. But man, it feels great. Dylan Raiola to Colorado, not happening for another year, Peter. That's that's what we'll address when he transfers here, when Shador's in the NFL, right? But hey, wanted to ask you too. Let's go ahead and get on the recruiting topic. So we do
Yeah.
have some really great news. Julian Lewis has been spotted by the Colorado paparazzi, of course, here on campus, taking another visit, which I think will be his second, which is wonderful. And then we got an early crystal ball for the class of 2025. Mantrez Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. Buford. Okay, I was trying to think of this. Who else is from Buford? Is it Mata? Is Mata from Buford? I think that's where he's from.
I want
If
to say
I
that might be.
Yeah, Alejandro Mata out in Buford. That's what. Yeah. So I'm down for it. Then we can get two Buford guys. We already got Mata and all that. But any thoughts on these guys? And do you think that this opens up finally will we start seeing maybe some 25 commits, start to happen at some point soon?
I think we will. I think the floodgates are eventually going to open with 2025. I don't think we need to panic just yet. When you see the players that are coming in for visits in the next month, from now until the end of April, there is a massive list. You also forgot Aaron Gregory is in Boulder right now as well, visiting the 4-star athlete, I believe out of Georgia as well.
Mhm.
And he's the number 1 athlete in Georgia and like a top 15 player when it comes to, I mean, very similar to what Cam Michael was this past year.
I love it.
Like he is this year's Cam. And so him coming makes a lot of sense. It's sounding pretty promising with him. We are in his final couple of teams as far as his commit. And then, of course, yeah, Mantrez Walker, that one's been a long time coming. I'm glad that we're finally going to get a resolution. We got that crystal ball. And, linebacker is a place that we really desperately need. And I think he's going to slot in really well there. And yeah, the Georgia pipeline is opening up. Like Coach Prime is going hard after Georgia and getting a lot of people to come and visit. Be interesting to see if we hear anything from Julian about the visit, because I think this is his first big opportunity to sit down with Pat Shermer and kind of talk X's and O's and figure out what that looks like. So really important for him to get here. Really excited. I would love to see him flip. The only issue I have, Julian Lewis is going to be an absolutely unbelievable quarterback. But with him reclassifying, I think he's a little too young to start for a college team next year. And so we're kind of put right back where we were with now trying to figure out a quarterback. Although my dark horse after watching this week's of practice, Walter Taylor is looking mighty fine, I have to say. His ball looks really good. I love his size. I'm very interested to see if he might be kind of the in-between quarterback between Shedeur and whoever we get this upcoming recruiting season. What about you? What's kind of stood out with some of these players that might be coming?
Yeah. I think, man, I would love to have Julian Lewis here, no doubt. I think that, I think that there could be a chance that he could start his freshman year, but I think it's always ideal to have guys sit a little bit if possible. So I think that will benefit them the most, in the long run. So I would love to see, again, what comes out of this quarterback competition for QB2 between Taylor, Staub, Wade, but you cannot ignore Walter Taylor's size, man. You just can't. And the offense would look quite a bit different, I think, than with Shedeur compared to Shedeur behind center. But this is something that I'm hoping that it really happens with Julian Lewis, because he seems very cerebral, very smart, and I think that if you get a commit from him kind of early on, hopefully that helps build some momentum with the rest of the class. Because if any of y'all have been following this program prior to a year and a half ago, I was just talking with Rawhide on the phone earlier this morning. It's like, we're not nearly panicking as much when it comes to the recruiting strategy. Like, we accept things that they're just a little bit different. The results are there. I think that we got some slightly different opinions that we can get into on Coach Prime's comments regarding recruiting and all of that. But I think, like, right now, I think all signs with the types of visits that we're bringing on, we're going to get guys to commit. We're going to start to build momentum. Again, you're even if things just totally blow up, I still think that you're going to get some really good recruits here just because of who you got here on staff. So I do want to end this just by saying Pat Shermer, man, all credit to Pat Shermer. Let's see if he can close the deal this weekend. Let's see if he's a super recruiter, right?
If we get a quarterback, if we get one of the top quarterbacks that we've been looking at, whether that's Julian, whether somehow Antoine Hill comes back around, but I'm kind of closed off on that one at this point. But if we get one of those big ones, I think that is the domino effect of we are going to see a ton of players commit to the Buffs and some top players. Because the other thing I've noticed, we have a ton of offers and people visiting who are some of the top offensive linemen in next year's recruiting class. They are going hard on the offensive line to join Jordan Seaton.
Lovely. So, can you name some?
Yes. So Micah DeBose is one that has is going to be visiting. We also this week saw an announcement of a top 12 for Zaire Addison, if that's how you pronounce his name, and
Mhm.
he is going to be visiting early in April, per Adam Munster Tiger. So we've got a number of offensive linemen that have been offered that we'll be visiting in the next several weeks. My guess is, Jordan Seaton, hang out with them, talk to them. We know that we kind of get the idea that that video from back in January when Jordan Seaton and all the guys went snowmobiling and then went to dinner. Jordan Seaton was discussing why he chose Colorado, and everybody assumed that across from that table was Julian Lewis because it was the same week that he was visiting. So we know that Jordan Seaton is pushing hard on the recruits to come and join him here at Colorado. So I'm really excited to see what comes of these visits and whether or not maybe we see some automatic commits after these visits here upcoming next month.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I love to hear that we're going off after the offensive line because I think obviously that's going to be a big area of need after this year and moving forward. Now, let's go ahead and get to some of the comments. I like Coach Prime talking about how he doesn't go on in-home visits. He gave
Yeah.
some different reasons why. I'll open up the floor to you first, Russ. I spoke on this a little bit later, but wanted to have a little bit of conversation because I think we have some different perspectives here that I think could be beneficial for the audience.
So on one hand, would I love to see Coach Prime go and visit these players? Absolutely. On the other hand, and I brought this up to you off of us being live, my only problem, and I think this is part of Coach Prime's issue, is how many of these kids are doing this for clout? How many of these kids are, going to be tugging Coach Prime's chain, having him go all the way visit when really were they ever considering us? Were they serious in considering us? Are we that finalist for them? On the other side of it, we've seen the results. Coach Prime not going into houses has got us Travis Hunter going to Jackson State. Cormani McClain flipping last second, like literally no contact with Prime. Prime picks up the phone the day he's committing and says, "Hey, come to Colorado." And he does. Like, that's the power of Coach Prime. I get what people think. I get that people are like, "Oh, he's just, he thinks he's better than everybody else." I'm sorry to say he kind of is. He's a Hall of Fame gold jacket, one of the best football players of all time. I think players take that more into consideration when he picks up the phone and talks to them than needing him to be in person in their house. And so that's, I think, where he's kind of coming at. He's got his time is very valuable. He's got a lot of things that he's doing, both for the program, off the field, on the field. So I just think it would take a very special situation. But I don't even think he did that for Travis Hunter. I really don't think he did that for Travis, and that tells you a lot.
Yeah. That I agree, man. I think Steven bringing up a great comment here, kind of summarizing that up. Where's Coach Prime's recruits ranked with the last 20 years? Exactly. Coming here to see you, Case Skulls. That's why, yeah, it's really funny because right now I feel like the results are there. And I do think though, and I think that's a great case. It's like Coach Prime, let me rephrase this. I feel like with some of the reasons that he was giving as to why he doesn't do it, I don't totally buy that. And I kind of just wish that he just came out and said that he just wants to prioritize his time in different ways because, like, you're saying, okay, well, I don't like to go to certain neighborhoods or cities because everybody will expect me to want to visit them and their feelings will be hurt or something like. I'm paraphrasing, of course, so it might not be completely accurate, but something along those lines. I don't totally buy that. You're there on a business trip. People are going to understand or not. And it's not like you visit those areas anyways. So you're not really creating this expectation that you're going to see everybody. And then to save the school money, like I think that is just a ton of BS, to be honest. And I don't think he did himself any favors with that. I kind of just wish that he was just a little bit more honest with how you said, like, he has some different priorities with how he wants to run the program. Not only is he the head coach of this team, but he is the face of the entire university. He's a brand promoter for not only the Prime brand, but of course for CU. He's got a lot of other different things. I think to call it lazy or to call him lazy, I think is completely inaccurate. I think he just wants to spend his time in different ways rather than focusing on 17 and 18-year-olds. But I will say, I would not mind an in-home visit for some of these top guys that we're going after. I mean, I know you already said it, Russ. We've gotten Cormani, we've gotten Jordan Seaton, we've been able to close the deal, or Coach Prime closed the deal at Jackson State with Travis Hunter. So his personality, his charisma, his aura, what he's doing is working. I think just sometimes I wonder if like a in-home visit with somebody, for instance, like Bryce Underwood. Let's just take this. Oh, I've had Kirby Smart visit me, Les Miles visit me, Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh. Like, that can speak. But I think you bring up a wonderful point to hear that a lot of people don't understand that Coach Prime he's going to work his in his ways. He's going to do things his way. Sometimes I wish that he would just be a little bit more honest about it in front of the press, rather than trying to feel like he has to defend himself or make up reasons as to why. No, you can just do it because you're Prime. That's why we brought you here. You're Prime. We understand that you're going to operate differently than pretty much any other football coach. As long as the results are there, you're not going to see much fuss from me about it.
Yeah, so I mean, I even looked at the history, by the way, because the comment that Steve had here about CU. In the history of Colorado before Prime, we had, it looks like 4 5-star players. And Coach Prime has brought in 2 5-star players. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good track record compared to what we're used to here. So again, it's working for us. Will he eventually have to do that at some point? Maybe, but I think also he could use that as a really big ace in the hole, because if he only goes to visit Bryce Underwood, Bryce can say, okay, Coach Prime loves me so much. I am the only player he's ever visited in home. But I think it needs to be that super special player, a Travis Hunter-esque player, which in all honesty, all these quarterbacks that are coming up look great. They look wonderful. I don't think anybody's talking about them in the sense of them being absolutely generational, all-world talents. They're great quarterbacks. But I think once we get to that point, maybe then Coach Prime pulls that out of his back pocket. But you saw what happened this week. He says this stuff, and what happens? It all gets taken out of context and used as clickbait this week. If he's honest, it probably gets worse. I think that's part of the reason he does that, is he knows what's going to happen with those headlines. And unfortunately, because of the way that the media and everybody uses his name, he's gonna get anything he says taken. I love when he's like talking and he stops himself and he's like, "Oh, I almost said something I shouldn't have said. I almost said something. I thank you, God, for stopping me." And I think part of that is because he knows what kind of media storm would come from him being honest in a lot of situations. So I think we're going to be very pleased with what's coming, and I'm not too worried about the in-home visits, in all honesty.
Nah, I think you bring up a great point that it can be used as that ace in the hole kind of thing. And again, like I saw somebody during one of my shows this week comment and say, well, if you visit one, you have to visit all. I don't think that's true at all. You don't see the top head coaches do that either. And I will predict at some point you will see that ace in the hole used. I think it would be pretty interesting. But yeah, I like that we got a coach that's sticking to his strategy, and right now I feel like it's bringing about fantastic results. So, there was one other thing that I did want to touch on. Oh, here, Chris E. talking about it. Didn't Coach Prime hire Rispris to help recruit a massive class for 2025? We got him coming in. We still got Corey Phillips here, the rest of the recruiting staff. It's not like these guys are going to be, just sitting by, just chilling. I think once you see that first domino fall, you're going to start to see more as well. And I would imagine it's going to be around. I would hope that we can get like our first commit for 25 around the time of the spring game or shortly after, right?
Yep. It sounds like Mantrez will be that person, because he's committing at the end of April. He's coming. The last visit is with CU. He's got the crystal ball. So I think that starts the way down. But since Rispris has been hired, we have seen a ton of offers for players. So they are working. He is working very hard to get players. He even got some of those last minute players in for this class, like or not this class, but next year. I think is Angel Lopez 2 years, or is he this year as a walk on? I can't remember, but he was a Respress guy that switched over from Florida to Colorado once he moved over. So I think we'll be fine. 2025 is gonna let's hold out just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, before we get to spring break, we've had our first week of practice. I know you mentioned Walter Taylor. Anything else from this week of practice that really stuck out to you?
We heard a ton about Omarion Miller. I think he's kind of being the darling of the first week of spring practice. Again, we've talked about this in the past. Everybody hold your opinions. Don't get too hyped on anybody in spring practice.
Right.
But Omarion is looking good and looking to make that next step to the next level. We know he has the athleticism. We know he has the skills to be able to be a full-timer. And then, of course, we've been hearing a ton of stuff about LeJohntay Wester. It sounds like he is every bit of the player that Shedeur wanted when he begged him to come and asked and pleaded for us to get him. So I think that's good. Seeing some of the one-on-ones is great. I love seeing Jordan Seaton's video that he put out with all the extra work he's putting in. The kid is just so mature. And that press conference that he pulled off on Wednesday, Jordan Seaton's quickly becoming probably my favorite player on the team. The young man just talks wonderfully, gives some great insight, very knowledgeable, very mature. He's working his butt off with the offensive lineman that transferred in. So he's getting kind of brought along, but then he's going to be that player come next year when a lot of those guys are gone. He's going to be the one that kind of takes control, and it's going to be his team in essence, because Travis, Shiloh, Shedeur will be all gone. So really Seaton is going to kind of be the one that is leading this group going forward. And I love seeing him make those first steps here this year. So those are my big ones. And then, Walter Taylor, just seeing some of the throws he's making, the movement, how he looks in the pocket. My goodness, like he passes the eye test. Let's just say that. Like he is somebody that if you just saw, you'd be like, I want that guy as my quarterback. Now, can he produce in the moments necessary? I will be excited because I'm sure we'll get to see a lot of him in the spring game. So I can't wait to see him, chuck the ball around in Folsom. And so those are kind of the ones that I've been looking at so far.
Yeah, man, it's been really fun to watch Jordan Seaton, and I love the video that came out of him. I don't know if that was yesterday or Wednesday, of just him getting work in also after practice. And so that was really cool being able to see. My back.
Yep, you're back.
It's that Texas internet, man. So hopefully, or regarding Jordan Seaton, it was really cool to see how he was working, and how he's getting that work in after practice. I think his leadership is already he is wise beyond his years. And I think that is really cool to see. He's there to work, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing him play. I also really love the fact that Coach Loadholt seemed to be very involved with the offensive line. I love this. Like he's putting on the mitts. He's doing the hand drills. He's, lining up and going against guys, giving them moves and little fades and stuff like that, feints and stuff like that to work with. And I think that hopefully this was like the first thing that he says is that we're going to be aggressive and communicate. And so that's why I'm calling him Phil. All my guys know their assignments. Loadholt. That's get to know the nickname. That's my hope. But that probably was the highlight of my week, seeing him work with that unit. You can tell the guys respect him, and he knows what he's talking about.
It's interesting because everybody, when we were talking originally about the SAP, bringing Sapp in, and everyone's like, oh, he's never coached before, he's not gonna be able to do this. Loadholt's very similar. Like, yes, he has been around college football for a while now in different capacities, but those guys know what they're talking about when it comes to the really nitty gritty stuff. And again, when it comes to those position coaches, that's what you need. Their job is not the X's and O's. They don't need to know schemes or any of that stuff. They just need to know, what do my position guys need to do? What is their jobs? What is their responsibilities? And how are we going to accomplish that? And yeah, Phil is already looking like everything we needed compared to Coach OB last year. You can tell that the boys listen to him. They absorb everything he has to say, and just some of the ways that he's already pushing them is things I love to see. Because again, I think the guys respect him because he's been there. He knows what it takes recently to get to the NFL and be a solid NFL player for their career. So I think that's a huge benefit to having him on the staff.
Yeah, that is the thing I'm gonna watch throughout most of this spring, and probably gonna be something that I pay attention to. With one of my main focuses in the regular season is just, we don't need to have the most talent, or I still don't think we have the most talent like in the Big 12 on our offensive line or anything like that. But if we're able to communicate really well, that can make up for some of those deficiencies. Some of these other schools, they have lines that are, their sum is greater than their individual parts, and that's what I'm hoping Colorado can get to as well this year. But Russ, I'm sorry I got to cut this a little short. I got to get back to it, but I appreciate you hopping on with me. Let us know, how many subscribers are you at right now, and what do you got coming up here in the future?
Yeah, 473. We're getting close to that 500 mark. I'm hoping to hit that maybe this weekend. And of course, tomorrow will be our weekly recap video where I'll go a little more in depth about some of the things that we've talked about even here, and going a little bit more in depth about some of the other pieces of news that we weren't able to get to. So make sure you guys head over, subscribe, so you know when it posts. 5 o'clock Mountain Time on Saturdays every week is when I will be posting the news video. And then, yeah, I'll be at the spring game this April, and on the ground with my camera, interviewing fans, just taking in the whole experience, bringing you guys along with me. So make sure you guys are following along for that as well.
Absolutely love it. Well, Russ, thanks again. Chat, thank you for hopping in here as well. Lively as always. Y'all be sure to smash that like on the way out, and I will be back tomorrow. As always, Buffs Nation, we'll see you, and Sko Buffs.